Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. We continue this exploration of the geodesic structure, specifically around wanting to create a gazebo or pergola or pergola or carport using the octahedron shape as the base. Originally, I created a video where we explored the development of the different frequencies, the breakdown of the dome structure, using the more correct method for the geometry that's used and shown by Paul Robinson in his videos, and a lot of the other people like John Hurt with zip tie domes, etc., that we see on YouTube and their websites. Knowing that there's more than one way to skin a cat, as it were, we had other options to generate our geodesic structures. One not being solely the source of the best approach, necessarily. So everything on the left-hand side is generated via the method as I'm circling here, using the divided triangle and the grid that you can create, and the what I call the porcupine or the line array to create the structures. Not dissimilar is this, you could almost call it a hybrid system, to be fair, where you make a semicircle, a quarter circle for the three axes, and then join those points of change across and create your divided lines, so you're effectively creating a grid in that manner. Now, we've covered that in previous video, and that there are also other methods. The reason I chased down this particular rationale was that depending upon the frequency, you'll wind up with one of the frequencies, and it turned out coincidentally, and probably no real surprise if you knew what you were doing, that the 5-frequency dome of both types wound up with having the support leg, what I'm going to call flush or flat in plane. For these parts, the supporting triangle surface, i.e. the support legs for the dome, but it left part of it in this area not flat in that plane. Now that you can live with that, and it's not aesthetically unpleasing, but I want to have everything flush in line here, and it turned out that the exploration I chose, this is a what's that? It's a 4-frequency dome. You can see how from that point at the bottom of the legs we've got these 1, 2, 3 surfaces projecting through the plane, that flush plane, as it were. You go to a higher frequency, and as you zoom in you can see that they're back behind the plane. So you've got a choice of moving the plane back to intersect here, which will mean that the leg at the bottom will project through and still not be flush at this point. So the happy medium, or the happy frequency, or the good frequency, at least in part, is the 5-frequency dome. But is that good enough? Is there a method of drawing and generating your geodesic lines? Is there another method? And I'm going to suggest there is, but not one that's necessarily pleasing to my brain. And it may well be that not, how would you want to say it, not having your end goal as centre, you will want to try and chase down the maths or the geometry more than achieving your end goal. Now that might be a bit silly, so I'm considering, I'll just show what I'm talking about here. I'll go to plan view, take the perspective off. The closer we get, we're just concentrating on the 5 frequency dome, the closer we get to what we want, the closer we get to a grid-like layout for our geometry. This one here, we'd need to pull this intersection forward, and that's not all that hard, and I've done it in another drawing set. Equally, we come across here, we only have to pull this forward, and you probably notice that this is a lesser amount that needs to be pulled forward, which is certainly my preferred option, to do the least change or modification of a basic structure. So the question then becomes, why am I obsessing over trying to follow one of these similar geometry methods when I can simply create a grid-like structure and create the intersections there, or the rays, the porcupine? And that's the point. To do the grid method, getting those lines, the porcupine, is problematic. So do we need a hybrid, as I might have mentioned previously, in our approach? That's a good question. I've drawn... it is a good question. Not knowing the shortcomings of that, we can proceed blindly and create a lovely structure and wind up having a structurally deficient structure because you didn't know what you were doing and the shortcomings of it. You wind up with your end result with inherent problems. I don't think that will exist a great deal. It's just getting to the point of being able to generate your ray lines, your porcupine, in a method that's acceptable and repeatable. The question remains. I just introduced this one. It's just a short-ish video to toss over that idea. And as I said right at the beginning, this is as much about my exploration and discovery as we go through the methods. I don't come at it as an authority, far from that, and my background in building has always been, you've got to know what you're doing before you start doing it, otherwise the unintended consequences can either be very, very costly to you or disastrous for the client, safety-wise, health-wise, and cost-wise, of course. So my reluctance to blunder blindly on, solely wanting to achieve the outcome, has to be tempered somewhat. So, as I said, this is a journey of discovery. Obviously, those that may, if anyone's watching these videos, have got experience, they'd be probably saying, face palming and thinking I have missed the obvious. Well, it's only obvious when you know. At this stage, I do not. Okay. There was no great benefit for you listening to this, but you can see the development and perhaps some of the things you've got to consider too as you progress through your project. At least I'm acknowledging them, and it may help and short circuit your... This is the point, and I was considering it. These drawings take hours to do in total by the time I've nutted out what the heck I'm doing and then physically drawn them. But you can see how to do it and recreate the method in minutes. Likewise, the outcome, if we can get the outcome through my blundering around blindly and come to a conclusion, that will save you many, many hours of pondering and losing patience and losing hair over what's really quite a basic sort of project, one that may or may not even be see reality, and may not get built. So I'm going to end it there after that waffle. I apologise again, and I'll apologise in the future for the wordiness of some of these videos, but this is done on the fly as the thoughts come to mind, and well, you can reap the benefits or not of what I find. Okay, that's it. I'm off. See you later. Bye.